All right, we're live. We're back at it again with another Mike's Beer Bar virtual happy hour Q&A. Right now, just me and Carter. We're going to have Alex joining us soon. He's busy doing baseball stuff and down in Bradenton. I'm in Buffalo. You're back in Pittsburgh. We're brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar and the North Shore Tavern right across from PNC Park. Right now, they have more than 300 local beers available in-house. All of their 80 taps are local, so you can get and they all always have deals on the beers in the coolers, and then on the crowlers. So Carter, you have a crowler right now with you. That's a crowler. So there's a buy 3 get 3 right now. So check them out. Go to Mike's Beer Bar, social, Google them. What is that? What are you drinking?
This is an American IPA. It's a 6%er from Brew Gentleman. It's called Ayabi. I'm a big IPA person. I love hops. I love different flavors. And I'm about to see how good this is because I read about it. It had a good review on Untapped, which is a great app to download to figure out what kind of beers you want to get into. So here we go. I'm going to start tasting it.
While you're doing that, North Shore Tavern, too, they're also doing specials. What they're doing every week until May, something different on the stone. So, like, they always have the steak and a stone. But something different on the stone every week until May. This week it's shrimp and salmon. So check them out, too. But, yeah, we'll be here for the next hour taking your questions. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can leave it in the comments. We'll sit here. We can put it on the screen, answer. If you have Pirates questions, Alex, if you missed it, Alex will be joining us later. He's just finishing up some baseball stuff. But yeah, and then if you're watching on Twitter, you actually have to tap the Periscope and leave a comment that way. But yeah, anything Penguins, Pirates, Steelers, colleges, anything will be here for the next hour. Carter, how is that?
It's pretty good. I'm still getting into it. Because sometimes it takes my taste buds. I've been drinking a lot of water today, so I'm still kind of watered down a little bit. But to me, like when you have good spices, when you have good stuff mixed into your beer, you start to feel those hints. And I'm already getting them, but I'm kind of like working my way into waking my tongue back up because I haven't really drank anything with flavor for a bit.
Cool. All right, we got a couple questions already. Paul says, on a scale 1 to 10, how sure are we that Bud is gone?
9.5. Bud Dupree, people recognize that he's a talented player. Now, the one thing that works out in the favor of Bud Dupree, or in the favor of a Steelers fan who wants to keep Bud Dupree, because it doesn't work out in Bud Dupree's favor, is he was injured at the end, towards the end of the season. It was an ACL tear, and this is a year where there's a lot of edge rushing prospects out there, not prospects, but free agent guys out there who can receive big money. And this is a limited year in the salary cap with $182.5 million. Normally it would be like 198 or something like that. So there's a lot that's going to play into this. The one thing that could bring Bud Dupree back, and it's an extreme long shot, but the one thing that could bring him back is if he realizes he can't get paid on the free market the way that he would want to get paid, and then B, he goes to the Steelers and says, look, I want one more great year to team up with TJ Watt. I'll do it at a discounted rate. But I am not picking that to happen at all. I think he gets paid on the market decently, and he takes that for a decent year, a decent 4 or 5 year contract that makes him one of the better paid edge rushers in the league, and he deserves it. He's earned that kind of a contract.
Steelers fan says, if the Penguins trade one of their defensemen, what would they be looking at in return? I think the biggest need here is probably a bottom 6 center. The fourth line is starting to come together. I mean, we saw that last night here in Buffalo. Jankowski is not the answer. I mean, and so whatever they end up doing with the fourth line, whether Aston Reese, Blue, or Tanev, that could be your fourth line, but they need to fix one of their bottom 6 lines, whatever they do. They need a center. I think a good pick is Luke Glendening from Detroit. He's going to be a free agent, 32 years old. They're rebuilding. He's, by the time, the Red Wings they get things together and they become a contender, he's not going to still be around. So they might be looking to move him before he becomes a free agent, so they don't just let him walk for nothing. So, a young defenseman like Pettersson, who would be available around like when for the duration of the Red Wings rebuild and when they start maybe winning. I mean, that could be a good trade. But yeah, I think and especially for faceoffs, because like Jankowski has not been very good faceoffs. Glenn Denning would be so, but just someone who fits that mold. Let's see, Carter. What is the biggest difference the average fan will notice in the Matt Canada offense?
I think you're going to see a much more concentrated focus in the run game and maybe more ways to isolate runners to get them one-on-one opportunities. One of the things that you look at for a running game with most running schemes, what is the best way? Because normal, you're looking at 5 offensive linemen, a sixth blocker, and a tight end against 7 guys in the box. Normally, your goal as an offensive coordinator is to say, hey, I need to find a way to get my running back with that one player that they have on defense matched up with the best chance for him to beat that one guy. Now, Matt Canada, what he's done for Pitt, for Maryland, for different people in college, what he's done is he's tried to find more creative ways. He's used motion. He's used weak-sided defenses to say, hey, we're going to show you go to this strong side, but then we're going to find a way to isolate your worst weak side back defender and get our running back to work against you in space. Or sometimes you're a receiver to work on him in space. We could be seeing a little bit more of what the Steelers kind of wanted to do, like, 2 years ago when we saw more jet sweeps because they didn't have Ben Roethlisberger and they were trying to work around not having a quarterback they could count on. So I see Matt Canada being a little bit more creative in finding different ways to isolate runners. And that's another reason I think it is highly important the Steelers invest in getting a top running back who capitalizes on winning those one-on-one opportunities, because you get a guy who makes a guy consistently miss and then turns a 2-yard gain into an 8-10-yard gain. That's kind of stuff helps you win football, helps you win downs, which helps you win quarters, which helps you win games, and that helps you win seasons.
Mike says, thoughts as to why Kapanen is doing so well. I mean, it's really about that connection he has with Malkin now that they didn't have earlier in the season when they were first together. They've had a couple of games now back together, and I asked him about that a couple days ago. It was after the game back in Pittsburgh, but he just thought that they needed time to. He said sometimes when you get a new line mate like with Malkin, you need time to get acclimated together, and that's pretty much all he said about that. Is that he just thinks they're getting more comfortable with each other, and that's why we're seeing them making the plays they're making. I asked Malkin last night of that connection too. Did you see what he said? It was funny. Yeah, he was. He really didn't say much of anything. He was like, I want to say that we're doing okay, because any other time when I've said oh wow, we're doing really good, then we don't have a good game the next day. He said, so I'll just say that we're working hard and playing okay. So yes, Malcolm, they're just doing okay. But yeah, no, they've been playing pretty well together. And I think it's just that familiarity. Yeah, Malcolm was funny though. When he's playing well, he's funnier.
What was his comment about? It was something about someone who speaks Finnish.
Well, that's Kapanen.
Oh, that's Kapanen. Yeah.
He was asked. He was asked about the relationship off the ice, and Malkin right away. He said he speaks Finland. I'm not understand him. And then he said no, and then he actually answered it. And he said they have a good relationship off the ice, and he said that even though he said I might be a little old for him, but they play cards together off the ice and
that's cool.
NHL, the video game.
Yeah, NHL. I've been debating buying the newest NHL, but I'm not. I play PlayStation. Do I wait for PS5 to get it, or should I get the current version? That's what I'm debating.
Honestly, the NHL past couple games of editions been the same thing.
That's what a lot of sport games.
This one has a little bit the most recent one has a little bit more added to the Be a Pro mode if you play that. But there's off ice decisions you have to make that affect your play, stuff like that. But I'd love to know what teams Malkin and Kapanen are playing as. They have the international teams in there. Are they showing Russia, Finland there?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be cool to know. But so yeah, that's they have a good relationship. Carter, how are you liking All-American this season? They think there's a serious lack of football this year.
Well, listen, for those who don't know, All American is a great show on the CW that follows this running back in LA who starts off he goes to his hometown high school, then he transfers to a prep school that he does really well at and helps them win. But in these new seasons, he's going back and he's trying to fix the hood. And it's a really cool show that has all these different dynamics of players, what high school kids go through, trying to get to college, the challenges that they face, what they face in their communities sometimes. I like this season to answer Greg's question. To me, it shouldn't always be about the football. And I feel like there's times they got to pull back on that, because what makes a lot of the great drama is the stuff that happens outside of football. And then when you're seeing them play the game, then you're like, oh, now there's all these different stakes. And early on in the season, I mean, not to give the easy way, but they're both the prep school team and the team from Spencer's neighborhood, the main character, they're losing games right now. So I think they're holding back on that. But I think once this season opens up, Greg, and they start to resolve some off-field conflicts, I think they will get back into football just a little bit more, because they're like, look, they're not winning. Why show that? But when they start winning games, that's when they'll do it again. So I'm still enjoying it. I love it. I haven't seen this week's episode yet. My girlfriend and I, we always wait till Friday to watch it so we can watch it together. I always DVR it. So that's actually what I'm going to be doing tonight.
Back to NHL 21. Paul says, what goalie would you use when you get?
Oh, of course I'd use Gary Price. What you talking about? I don't know. I haven't. Listen, because when I used to play NHL, it was like from like 2011 to like 2014, I think was the last one that I actually played. And I used to go at it. I used to go on NHL and be like, all right, who's I'd go online, I'd call people out. And I'd go after them, and then you play some people that use a second player online, and there's two of you, so like they're trying to do like D-to-D passes, and you're like, hold up, I see what you're doing there. I do miss that, but I always use the Penguins. I'm like, I always rep Pittsburgh, whatever I do on the thing. So back then it was Marc-Andre Fleury, so I guess I would just use Tristan Jarry now. And I never mastered goalie play. When I was in the net, if I had to do the shootout thing, I was a loss. I was like, well,
I can't do that either.
Yeah, I'm like, I just hope they miss. That's about all I can do.
I play as I do the Be a Pro. So like I'm like myself. And
nice.
So the game, like at 21, I got drafted by the Rangers, so I'm on the Rangers. But so like, because I started it, like the beginning of the season. Tony DeAngelo is still on my team, and I'm getting him way too many assists. Like, how do I get Tony DeAngelo kicked off this team? Can they waive him? Because I don't like getting him this many points. But yeah, no, it's fun. I really like the Be a Pro mode.
Have you ever messed with the ultimate mode in the hockey game?
No, the trading cards.
Yeah,
I don't do that. No.
Okay, because I used to do that for Madden when I played Madden. I've taken a break from Madden because it got too easy for me, and I was like, this is getting boring. But I do that a lot for Diamond Dynasty mode and MLB The Show. If you play MLB The Show and you got Diamond Dynasty, see me. I got an outfield with Ken Griffey Jr., with Dave Parker, with Ricky Henderson. I got Jason Kendall as my catcher. I got all sorts of dudes lined up in there, and I love playing legend games. Now, the one thing they got to do is get Roberto Clemente. That's all I've been asking for 5 years is get Roberto Clemente. But they won't do it. They wouldn't even do it for MLB 21, which would have made sense because, 21. But, whatever. I don't know anything about baseball. Just, gosh. I need Dayon to rant about baseball, not me.
The cool thing about the NHL 21, the Be a Pro, like this current, it actually is a big change that they made for the current edition. There's a lot of, like I mentioned, it's like the off-ice stuff. Right. It's like you actually like make money throughout it, and like you can spend your money on like houses and stuff like that, or like going out with teammates. So like every maybe couple of games or whatever, if you go on the road, there might be a cut scene where like a teammate comes up to you and they have like different things they want to do in different cities. And like when you go to Pittsburgh, a lot of if they ask you to do something, it's going to like a Pirates game. So like I'm in like Pittsburgh with the Rangers, and like Capo Caco comes up to me and it's like, do you want to go to a Pirates game? I'm like, sure, I'll go to a Pirates game, but then you got to spend like $20 or whatever, and you just like weigh those kinds of decisions. But I think that part of the game is really cool.
It is.
Yeah. Why is Kasperi Kapanen not on the first power play unit? I think it just who do you take off in his place? Because I mean, I'm assuming you want him out there, Malkin. Do you take off Rust or Gensel? I don't know.
That'd be a really tough call.
Yeah, I mean, he's the next guy up if someone gets hurt. Because I mean, when Crosby was out for protocol, Kapanen was up there. So, I mean, he's the next guy up. I just don't know. I don't know what it would take to take because even as good as they've been playing lately, I mean, they're still not taking Gensel and Russ off that top unit for him. So I don't know what that would take. Steelers fan again says, do you think Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, and Matt Canada being at Clemson Pro Day, are they heavily scouting Travis Etienne and to see if he is the player they want to pick at 24?
Okay, a few things here. Steelers fan, good question, because that's the $1 million question, right? Because everyone saw, Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert talking at Dabo Swinney. That means everything. But let's be real. Clemson has a lot of prospects they could be looking at. Receiver position, Cornell Powell, Amari Rodgers, two very talented receivers who they could draft in the middle to late rounds, and that would be their guy. Hey, you're the fourth option on the team now. Go get back there, young buck, and work behind these guys, and that prevents us from maybe having to sign another receiver like James Washington next year. They could also be looking at Jackson Carman, offensive tackle, projected to go to the second round, a guy who could be a good NFL starter. There's a lot of things they could have been looking at. Were they looking at Travis Etienne? Absolutely. He's part of that equation. But I do not think it means they're definitely getting him. Because here's my thing. We saw them both there at Clemson, and we're all a little football crazed. There's no football right now. We're all looking for stuff. So what are we doing? We're reacting to things. But here's the thing: when North Carolina has their pro day, they're probably going to send a bunch of guys to those. They're going to send. When Alabama has their pro days, you're probably going to see Mike Tomlin, Kevin Colbert, and the Steelers go on out in force there, because you want to look at Najee Harris, you want to look at Alex Leatherwood, you want to look at everybody that you can, Landon Dickerson, whoever else you can name from Alabama. The same thing will happen with Ohio State. Same thing will happen with Florida, or whoever else has a whole bunch of prospects. Next Wednesday is going to be crazy, because on Wednesday, you're going to have Georgia and Pitt, two teams with a lot of prospects in this NFL draft, doing their pro days at the same day. So don't read too much into all of this, but make a note, keep it in your draft bank, and then on draft night, just take that information with you and see what are the Steelers looking for. The Steelers could absolutely draft Travis Etienne. I wouldn't bank on it as a sure thing, but it's certainly in the realm of equations here.
Okay, Dane's here.
What up, Dayon?
What's up, people?
Good.
It has a cartoon on the map that has moved from Pittsburgh. It's all the way up in Buffalo. We have Alex down in Florida, Taylor up in Buffalo, and we do something whenever any of us goes to Bradenton. We did it when I was down there, where we have we put like these little palm trees and other stuff like that. And we were trying to think of what we could put up in Buffalo with Taylor. And we just like, what do you do? Like the frozen Niagara Falls? Like, what do you put? Like, what would we have for Buffalo?
Wings, but
I was about to get some chicken wings.
Like, I haven't gotten wings or anything like that. Good question for what you just covered in Daily Shot. Paul says, which is the real Juju, the one that says he wants to stay, or the one that votes not a poll. So for people that don't know, it was Sports Illustrated. They posted a poll on their Instagram story. There's basically, is Juju gonna come back, and the options were it was like, I hope so, and then what was it was the no, but how was it worded?
I don't remember.
But that's a negative.
That's a negative.
So,
but yeah.
So it was like, I hope so, or that's a negative. And when you have an Instagram story poll, when people vote on it, you, the poster, can see, it's not anonymous. So Sports Illustrated saw that Juju voted that's a negative. And then they screenshotted it and tweeted what he said. So he didn't post anything, but he voted on their poll, and they saw what he said, and he said that's a negative.
to answer the question, who's the real one? The thing is, both of them are. Juju is playing everybody. Nobody. Yeah, listen, he's going to get paid when he wants to get paid. That's his ultimate goal. Stop reading into this like, oh, he's a Dolphin on Fortnite. That means he's going to Miami. Oh, get the heck out of here. He's going to make his own decisions on his own time, and all of this is going to seem very silly very soon. I just went through this even just with college players. Just yesterday, I wrote a pit piece about how it looked. I was looking at it, and there was rumors that Etienne Horton's going to leave the program because he deleted all his pit posts on Instagram. Then he deleted his Instagram, and he's going to leave the pit program. And all of a sudden, he released a statement. No, I'm deleting my posts because I'm tired of the social media nonsense, and I'm committed to making Pitt a real ACC team. Don't believe hype that you see on social media. Make a mental note of it if you want. Keep it in your memory bank, but people are reading way too much into this stuff.
You know, that answer was great. The one about the part about which one is the real one.
Both.
If you're talking about somebody who's duplicitous, it has to be both. I mean, you know, which one is authentic? I don't give him that much credit to say he's playing everybody. I think all he's doing is he appeals to whichever is the last face or the last side that he's talking to. That's it. That's pretty much what most duplicitous people are. They say whatever it is that person in front of them, they think that they want to hear because they want to be liked. They want to be liked. And that's his thing. You know, I'm not alone in this regard. To people who've dealt with him on a regular basis, it's close to unanimous. If it isn't unanimous, that he's one thing to one place and one thing to another. And I mean, just personally, I don't have any use for that sort of thing, like in my life. I just don't. If you're going to be a jerk, man, be the best jerk you can be. Be a jerk around the clock. Be a jerk to everybody, you know, but don't put on a show.
Eric says, would the Penguins trade someone for picks because they don't have very many? I don't think they're not going to be sellers this deadline. Definitely not yet. Especially because it doesn't make any sense to be a seller when they don't have a first-round pick of their own. This isn't the time to start the rebuild. If they're going to be getting anything, it's going to be assets that can help now. We just talked about, Dan, before you got on, what they would be going after, probably bottom six center. I mentioned Luke Glendening just because Red Wings probably going to move him just because he is going to be a free agent. 32, they're rebuilding. If you're rebuilding, a 32-year-old's not going to help you.
No, the Red Wings have a bunch of those guys. They have, like the Sabres do, where they have guys that they just have to sign just to hit the salary floor. And then they have no intention of keeping any of them. Ottawa's obviously got a few of those as well. The challenge in figuring out what to do with the Penguins is, and Taylor, you and I have talked about this. Do you fix up the fourth line, or do you say that the Teddy Bluger line should actually be your fourth line, slide them down the depth chart, and then create a third line that's a scoring line, which is way more conventional, that has either Jared McCann or Jason Zucker on it, that has Evan Rodriguez on it. And then what are you looking at? Taylor, you mentioned a center. What if it was, just pulling this out of nowhere here, but what if it was like an Eric Stahl, okay? And you said, okay, here's Eric Stahl, Jason Zucker, and Evan Rodriguez, and that's my third line. I could do that.
Yeah, you don't got to go get all three pieces for a new line. Yeah, right. Well, I think the biggest need is a center. Right. Especially with faceoffs, because Jankowski has never really been that good at faceoffs.
Jankowski doesn't need to be in the National Hockey League right now. I don't even. I am so not alone in this one. You're going to have to trust me that there are people inside the Penguins that want him gone in the worst way. Okay, he the only reason he's playing right now is because of what Taylor just mentioned, which is you need some PK. You need somebody to take draws, even though he's not any good at that either. And you have a couple of injuries. You know, Zucker and McCann are. I'm telling you, you watch this. When either of those, Jankowski's out of that lineup so fast the moment he's not available, and Sevier, heck, you don't have to have an opinion on Sevier. They just ran him through waivers and then had him in the lineup the same night. You know?
Yeah, I mean, and Sevier, so they don't have to get rid of him. They can just put him on the taxi squad whenever, if they do get someone that can take his place. So you can get him off the active roster. The problem, though, is that they, if you're acquiring pieces and just burying guys like Jankowski, Sevier in the minors, like you can only have 50 contracts, and they're already one away from that limit. So they would also have to be shipping like people out, not just picks. You know what I'm saying?
There's cap hit for cap hit has to be part of this, and that's the reason that, let's say, for example,
isn't that they have room, and if Zucker's not
no, the contract count too, yeah, but that's also why, and I know you wrote about this recently. That's also a very likely reason that Dominic Simone didn't come back.
Yeah, like
I'd take him over any of these three guys, by the way.
So would I, and especially, I mean, what his cap hit league minimum Sevier is like 1.2. I would take him over some of those guys, but that would put them too close to the limit. Like that was the deal breaker. Let's see. Carter. Chris says, do the Steelers trade back from 24 if Harris and Etienne are taken before them, or do they take Williams, their best player available?
It depends on how they feel about the rest of the guys. Javonte Williams, I still think is a guy who they could get at 24 and be very happy with. But do they think that Javonte Williams would survive if they traded back to
Who is he, Carter? Who is that guy? I've never even heard that name.
Javonte Williams. Hey, what's up, Alex? Javonte Williams is the power back out of North Carolina who runs very strong. He's being compared to Nick Chubb in a lot of ways by the NFL draft experts. He is it's Najee Harris and him are the top two Steeler back guys in this draft, and then there's a drop off from who fit that
Steeler back. We're still waiting on Franco Harris to return. Steelers doesn't have to be a Steelers bag. You saw Travis Etienne's pro day. Mm-hmm. You've seen what he's done. You've seen how he can catch passes out of the backfield. I'm so tired of the Franco and Rocky stuff around here. This doesn't have to be a Steelers type back. You know who wasn't a Steelers type back? Le'Veon Bell.
Yes, he was though. He did a lot of extra things, but he did the Steeler back way.
Run, but he was tough.
And he was big, and he blocked, and he ran through contact.
He was big. He was kind of thinnish, but yeah. But I mean, I'm just saying the idea of Steelers type back. That's draft speak that these guys do, and most of them are older than dirt, and they're talking about stuff that doesn't even apply anymore. I looked at Travis Etienne yesterday, and I was like, "There's my Steelers back. That's the guy I want."
So the only thing with Travis Etienne is just that pass protection, he's a little lacking. So
can be taught.
It can be taught, and that's why he bulked up. He put on 10 pounds for his pro day,
combine, yep.
which is good. And it's safe to say also Willie Parker was that style of build when he was running for the Steelers. So it's possible that he could fit that way. But when you look at his style of running, it's often in space. It's often outside the tackles. You want to see a guy like the way Willie Parker did. He learned how to run in between the tackles. Now, not saying that Travis Etienne can't do that. And again, the question is if both Harris and Etienne are off the board, are we looking at Javonte Williams? And I say yes, because I think he's that good. But the other thing is, if you're Steelers, one, what offensive tackles are still available? What defensive players are still available? Did someone crazy fall to us? Did a quarterback fall to us like Trey Lance? Although I think his pro day today showed he ain't going to last that long. Still look at it, but the Steelers take every option you can. And if you think Javonte Williams is going to be there 4 picks later and you can get a second or a third round pick, absolutely trade back and say, hey, we'll get our guy in our 4 more picks, but we're also going to recoup maybe another middle round draft pick that helps us get an off ball linebacker or an extra edge rusher. Keep all doors open right now, because that's the thing about the draft. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar, North Shore Tavern. Mike's Beer Bar, now more than 300 local beers available. Always their 80 taps are always local. That's what you can get in those crowlers. That's what Carter has. And they're always having deals on those crowlers. Buy 3, get 3 right now. They also have mix and match 6-packs of the beers that are in the coolers, not on the taps. Those are 50% off. So you can stock up on your favorites. Try some new ones like Carter does every week. Yeah, check them out. And the North Shore Tavern, like we mentioned earlier and last week, every week until May, they are doing different things on the 800-degree stone that they bring out for you. Last week it was the Delmonico steak and the colossal shrimp. This week it's salmon and shrimp. So
that's what we had. That's what we had there last night.
How was it?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So good.
But you know what?
So
You know what? I am still here to bat for the fries.
Yeah, I knew he was coming with the fry top. I knew it.
I'm sorry. We had this phenomenal steak, and then my wife. This was like a belated birthday dinner, and she had shrimp on there, and it was all like, and then come the fries, and I'm like, I'm trying to, like, you know how you feel like when you're at a nice place like that, you feel like you're supposed to be going through the good food.
Hoity-toity.
I just don't care. I just went all fries, and the rest was really good too. But I had the fries.
Now that Alex is here, we can take Pirates questions. Alan says Brian Haase is probably going to be the next face of the Pirates franchise. He is likely going to be in the All-Star game and may win Rookie of the Year. Is this too much pressure for him?
Not for him. He's been very open that he knows that there are going to be a lot of people with eyes on him this year, that he has a chance at Rookie of the Year this year, but he's still having the same approach that he's always had. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He doesn't let the pressure really get to him. He looks like he's ready for that challenge. But he knows the reality of the situation, that, yeah, he might end up being like an all-star, that there are definitely going to be more than a couple people that are only going to watch this game to see Brian Haase. There's
so much Kutch in this kid. And I hate to do that because it sounds like you're laying Kutch-type expectations on him. But when I dealt with Kutch when he was 18 years old, the first time he was cut, he was mad. He was 18 years old. He was mad that they sent him down to Pirate City. It was great. And I thought that this is really going to be something here. This he knows who he is. He knows how good he can be. And with Key, it's so similar. They don't have the same type of personalities. I don't think you're ever going to see Key become as outgoing as Kutch became, declaring the blackout and everything else. Kutch has morphed and grown over the course of his major league career. You know what I mean? Even now with those Uncle Larry impressions that he does, I'm sure you've seen with the Phillies and everything. Those are fantastic. That's a later version of Kutch. Key and Kutch at this same age, so similar.
Back to Steelers. Clint says if the Steelers went with Etienne because of how the draft breaks, what sort of veteran back could the Steelers pair with him to get the most out of the backfield?
What sort of veteran back could it? Well, it can't be Mark Ingram because he went out and he just recently got signed. But I believe that the Texans, they could get a veteran back. There's a few of them out there. You know, Mike Davis, who had a decent year at the Panthers, is out there for really cheap. There's some bigger body guys they have out there. You could do that because that could also be your option to say, hey, while you learn how to pass protect a little bit better, here's this veteran who already knows how to do that much better. And I will say Benny Snell did improve in pass protection, if he didn't improve in anything else, in 2020. But yeah, so they could absolutely do that. And I think it would make sense to do that, to add some compliments to their backfield. But I'm also interested to see, do they cut Jalen Samuels? Because to me, that seems like that kind of has to be a move if you invest in running back this year. And then what do you do with Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland if you sign a vet along with drafting a guy in the first or second round? So a few questions there, but my answer is yes, Clint. I think they do.
Carter, I'll let you take this one. Not just can the Penguins trade for Carey Price, but what would you give up for Carey Price?
I'd give up Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang to get Carey Price.
You think that's enough?
Well, you're right. What am I thinking? They may need to give up like 4 of the first-round draft picks they don't even have anymore. Give up the bank for Carey Price because he's the best thing since sliced bread in this league. He's a 12-time All-Star. Wait, I think he's actually a 2-time All-Star. But he's still an All-Star goalie. That would change everything. Though, seriously, are we talking about this when Tristan Jarry's playing the way he is? I like the way he's playing. But yeah, trade the house for Carey Price. He's the best player in the world in any sport.
He's having a rough year. No, I'm talking about Carter.
This has the same energy of Stephen A. Smith yelling about hockey in that video that he put out because
Yes.
ESPN.
You know that's coming now, right? The
Oh,
whole
yeah.
ESPN.
I love it.
Did you
Those
watch
guys are all going to pretend they care about hockey.
Well, no. That was. Did you watch the Stephen A. Smith?
No.
It's like 4 minutes long. And he starts off with saying like he doesn't know anything about hockey, and he's listing like the top 5 things that he knows about hockey, and it's like
it's so funny.
Yeah, it's good. But he tweeted it out.
Good idea. That's a good idea.
So I mean, he's definitely in on. He's going to be doing that. He just has to figure out hockey first. Daniel says, is someone in the Steelers front office watching the happy hour? We talked about BJ Finney last week, and he was actually signed today.
Let's
talk about that.
They just listen. All I'm saying is, just give me $80,000 a year. I'll go be your GM, Pittsburgh Steelers. But no, let's be serious. We all knew BJ Finney was coming.
Yeah, there was no revelation there. Mike Tomlin loves BJ Finney.
And if you're the Steelers, how can't you? He was a guy you didn't draft. He became a starting center when Marquise Pouncey got hurt. He became your immediate backup center, backup right guard, backup left guard. You absolutely get this guy. And I see a lot of people out there saying, oh, well, he couldn't even start for the Bengals because their line stunk. Yes, and how many times have we seen that with the Bengals or another team mess up with a backup that the Steelers gave them?
Ramon Foster said, this was a couple of weeks ago, on one of our videos, that he couldn't understand why they ever let Finney go. He was such a perfect fit for what he was doing, and he knew, like we all know, how strongly Tomlin specifically feels about Finney. Him coming back to Pittsburgh was just the no-brainer of all no-brainers. Now the question is, what do you do with him? Is he going to be the C/G? Is he just going to be the C? We'll find out.
We'll find that out. But again, I think it'll be cool because remember, he grew up a Steelers fan. Him playing next to Kevin Dotson, who grew up a Steelers fan, that could be kind of cool. Like 2 Steelers fans playing next to together, like that's kind of cool. But also just a reminder, like when people bring up this Bengals stuff, remember when James Harrison went and then got cut by the Bengals, and then he came back and he was the big reason why the Steelers beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, because he was able to keep getting Alex Smith. He kept beating first overall pick Eric Fisher in back-to-back plays for sacks. Like, he can absolutely come back and be valuable to the Steelers. Does he fix the center position? No, they still need to invest there, but he's still a valuable piece in depth that gives you some flexibility on the interior offensive line.
Clint says, Taylor, does the delay in Survivor filming make you yearn for more future seasons? Absolutely. I think we were supposed to have a new season start in November, but they didn't film because they normally film over the summer. Obviously didn't do anything with COVID. Definitely missing that. Makes me want to rewatch the past season. I don't know. My favorite season is All Stars. I feel like I don't know. That's an emotional season. I'm not in the right headspace to watch that. It's a lot. But I miss Survivor. Carter, what are you looking forward to seeing at the Pitt football spring camp?
Few things. There's a lot of different position battles that I think will be interesting. One thing that Pat Narduzzi made very clear is that last year, we forgot they didn't get a spring football. They really didn't get much of a summer football camp. They're going to be looking at how can they put their hands on these guys and get them to work. The offensive line, it took them 2 months to gel before we started to see, hey, these guys actually have some talent there. I think I want to see how this offensive line gels. I really liked Owen Drexel and Matt Gonzalez last year on the offensive line. I thought they added a lot to it. I want to see them. Then I also want to see, we got this new receiver coach, Brennan Marion. What does he bring to this receiver room that has Jordan Addison, Jared Wayne, Shockey Jack Louise? You got Tazier Mack and Trey Tipton coming back, but I like Jalen Barden. Then they had this guy McConaughey. I might be messing his name up, but this kid cleared 2 people and dunked over them at the Peterson Event Center when they were just goofing around. They posted a picture of it. It was spectacular. Pitt keeps recruiting, these really fast and explosive wide receivers. I'd like to see who steps up in this spring ball. Jordan Addison last year became an all-American freshman or freshman all-American with no spring training, no spring camp, no real summer camp, and became that this year. What can he do with a full year of working like that and getting Kenny Pickett back? So I want to see how those type of guys gel together. And then also, Pat Narduzzi talked about all the super seniors, the guys that, because their eligibility was waived last year and they got a chance to choose, do I go to the draft? Do I come back? They got like 13 guys that chose to do that. So they're in a position where we might see these guys really play well this year. It could give them a lot more flexibility. I want to see how that impacts their leadership and who steps up in these practices.
Alan says, since Pirates pitchers did not play a full season last year, should the Pirates go with a 6-man rotation to protect their arms?
It's a possibility. I mean, they got Trevor Cahill, who could be that 6th starter or be a swingman, be in the bullpen. He's kind of one of those guys that could do one of those roles. But at the beginning of camp, Derek Shelton said that it was going to be a 5-man rotation, in a true 5-man rotation, not like a piggyback situation, not, anything else, openers or anything like that. They'd like to have 5 guys to start. They'll probably have to adjust it as the season goes on and they're managing innings, whether that's a 6-man rotation, whether that's piggybacks, whether that's just skipping guys starts every once in a while. Pitching management is going to be the key this year, and I'm writing right now, actually going to be published in a little bit about just the depth that they have right now.
Oh, they might actually. This is such a weird year, and Alex, I know you've written about this because no one came anywhere close to their regular inning counts in 2020. So no one can be expected. Nobody anywhere in baseball can be expected to do a 30 start workload or a 200 inning workload. You're just not going to see it. I don't even think there's going to be a freaky outlier to that. But I think with the Pirates, one of the things that I had heard, maybe you can flesh this out, Alex, because I didn't really understand it, but I heard it while I was down in Bradenton, that the Pirates would be considering looking at as many as 10 or 11 pitchers to cycle through the rotation over the course of the year. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to see 10 guys like out of the chute, but it means that between Pittsburgh and Indianapolis, you'd have guys bouncing up and down as needed, I think, right?
That for the most part, guys get injured. I mean, stuff like that. But whenever you look at the guys like Miguel Yajure, Will Crow, Cody Ponce, depending on how you feel about Brubaker versus Cahill, they do have
Yajure.
I really like Yajure. I'll go on record with that. I think he's going to be the best out of these young rookie pitchers in camp this year.
Yep.
But they do have, like, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, like another rotation of guys that they could pull pretty easily from Indianapolis, not even have to worry about adding them to the roster or anything like that.
Who won't embarrass you, right?
No, they will hold their own, or they at least have a high enough ceiling. So that's what they want, and that's what they're going to need to get through this year.
Matt says Jari came close to scoring a goal yesterday. Has any Penguins goalie ever scored a goal? No. So he would be the first. And Wilkes Barre, only one has ever scored a goal, and it's him.
Kind of a lousy shot. Why is he? I thought he'd be getting more grief about that thing today. He had all kinds of room, all kinds of time, and he goes, 15, 20 feet to the right?
I'll bet he's hearing about it. Lot of time. I don't know. He didn't have a whole lot of time, but it went wide. He did get the assist. Russ picked up the puck, scored, gave Jari the assist. That's his 3rd point of the season, and we're not even that far in.
Did I hear something correctly that he's outscoring, like, who is it, Jeff Skinner from the Sabres, who's on like a $6 million contract to score?
He might be.
Jari's got more points than he does now?
He's, I put it because I wrote about, because I asked Jari about just, like what situations he'd take a shot like that, because he's had chances before with and he said, they have to be up by a couple for him to take. Like, he's not going to do it when they're up by 1.
Up 2, yeah. Up 2.
Yeah. So that's what I wrote about today. It's on the site, but he is with 3 points now in a 5-way tie for 16th place and Penguins scoring. He has as many points as like Dumoulin, Rodriguez, Jankowski, Sevier. Looking up Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner has a goal and an assist in 22 games. So yes, Tristan Jari does.
There you go. He blew right by Skinner. I'll tell you what. If I'm Mike Sullivan, I'm cutting and clipping out a copy of those stats that you just mentioned. I'm setting them in front of Mark Jankowski's stall and say your goalie's outscoring you.
Yeah, he does play the puck a lot, so he does. That's why he has the points he's getting. But yeah, and In Wilkes-Barre, that season, he tried scoring like early November. It's complicated. It was the whole thing with the opposing goalie threw his stick and it negated whatever. But so it didn't work out. Then 2 weeks later, he did finally score. So we'll see. Maybe in a couple of weeks he'll get another shot. Let's see. A lot of draft questions. Should the Steelers draft safety DeMar Hamlin or Paris Ford and transition Terrell Edmonds into a hybrid linebacker?
Strong safety.
Strong safety linebacker.
What he is now.
Yeah, I mean, basically he does that now. Yeah. But at the same time, one thing we saw that with the salary cap being set at $182.5 million, we now know that his fifth-year option will be $6.5-ish million next year. That's a great price for a Terrell Edmonds next year without having to spend a whole lot of bank on keeping him. So he'll be around for sure. Now, as far as drafting DeMar Hamlin or Paris Ford, depends on where you get him. I see Paris Ford going in the at latest an early third-round pick. So if that happens, they're not going to get a chance at him because those first two picks, that's going to be offensive line and running back or a superstar on defense and one of those positions. Where I do think would be a great fit is DeMar Hamlin. Now, I don't think that endangers Terrell Edmonds at all because DeMar Hamlin is like a Cameron Sutton. He can play deep safety, strong safety, slot cornerback, outside cornerback. They can draft him. If you can get him in the third and fourth rounds, like we're talking about how the Steelers could trade back and get an extra pick, he's absolutely someone I'd be looking at here if I'm Kevin Colbert and I'm the Steelers. He's a communicator. He's a leader. He's from the area. He went to Pitt. There's just so many things that just check up a lot of boxes about this guy. He talks the right way. He thinks the right way. He works the right way. I think he'd be a welcome presence in the locker room. And we're talking about a year where maybe they can only afford one of Cameron Sutton or Mike Hilton. You draft DeMar Hamlin, you get your guy that can, hey, help in the slot. But, okay, also back up Terrell Edmonds or Minka if one of them get hurt or one of them just needs a blow during the game. He's a guy that can play that role. So I'd look at DeMar Hamlin for sure. If Paris Ford falls through in the fourth round or third round, I would look at him too because I think he's that dynamic of a player that gives you flexibility in your secondary. But I think he goes early. I think DeMar Hamlin might not, and that would be a great opportunity for the Steelers.
Paul says, would you rather have Juju or Brown that got released from the Bills?
I'd rather have John Brown right now simply because he'd probably cost a lot less.
Who was the guy that isn't Juju?
John Brown. He's the deep threat from the Buffalo Bills.
Why'd they let him go?
Because he was like a $10 million cap hit, and they need to save money.
Okay.
The other thing is that he got hurt.
That's a good football player.
Yeah, he's a good football player.
And he said publicly he wants to play for the Steelers.
Yes, he did. He said he wants to join Ben Roethlisberger. He said the two top destinations were the Steelers and the Colts. And if you could get that guy for $5-ish million over, here's the other thing. Juju's stock actually went up this week. Forget all the social media stuff. Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin, who are the undisputed top two wide receivers in this free agency market, they got franchise tagged. So now your top receivers in this free agency market are Kenny Golladay, Juju, and Will Fuller, who's often hurt. Kenny Golladay, who, good, but Juju's put up 1,400 yards in the season. He could now be looking at legit. I'm making $15-18 million next year. See you guys.
John Brown can offer the Steelers something that they did not have last season, mostly because they underutilized James Washington. Juju is the third best receiver on the Steelers' current roster for at least for as long as he's on it, which will be from now until Wednesday. And he didn't add anything really last season other than a handful of I was impressed with a handful of his catches, particularly for touchdowns where he ran decent routes and everything, but he's an extremely limited player. This has nothing to do with any of the social media crap or whatever. He's a limited player who did not grow much at all over the last 2 years or since he was a rookie. I think there's a lot of room still for Deontay Johnson to grow as an NFL wide receiver. There's a ton of room for Chase Claypool to grow. And I say that in a positive sense. And I still want to see more James Washington. After that, if you can get John Brown, go nuts.
one thing I will say, Juju has grown as a route runner. He gets better separation. He finishes a lot better, and he's also, I think he does bring better in that regards. Like whoever gets him, I think is getting a very good player. But beyond that, John Brown brings you something else the Steelers ain't had for a while, and that's a veteran wide receiver who actually has done the work. He has 2 1,000-yard seasons. He's 31 years old. I think the next oldest wide receiver on the team is 24, 25, maybe if it's Deontay Johnson. Everyone else is super young. Ray McLeod's going to be there next year. Chase Claypool's a second-year player. Deontay Johnson, a third-year player. James Washington is like 24, 25. All those guys, they're in their mid to early 20s. You bring John Brown in, it's like getting Darius Hayward-Bay, who was a veteran guy for the group to balance things out, except this guy's a legit deep threat, and he still has the burners to get behind people. Sign him to a 2-year deal for $4-ish, $5-ish million. I would take that over Juju in that respect.
Does he have social media? Because I feel like that's all Steelers fans care about right now. I think any young guy they're going to bring in, I don't.
Really? I mean, that's kind of an unfair generalization. I mean, James Washington is a young. This whole idea that this stuff is generational, it isn't. If you're duplicitous, you're duplicitous.
I think it's
no matter how old
generational
you are.
if you care about it.
But I don't.
But you're talking about
social media
duplicitous.
thing.
They're calling Chase Claypool a diva for what?
That was stupid. That was insanely stupid and irresponsible. That was also one guy.
But there's also like Steelers fans who don't like what like Claypool's doing, and if you look at it, he's not posting anything bad. Like
there's nothing wrong with Chase Claypool.
Yeah, but I'm saying, there's a lot of Steelers fans that don't like him being on Twitter, whatever, TikTok.
Yeah,
whatever.
I wouldn't magnify the viewpoints of one or two people in the community, no matter how big the microphone is, and whether that's Bob Labriola or whether that's Mark Madden or whoever it is. It's or anybody at all, or any of the four of us here. Just because we say something and we have some big megaphone doesn't mean that that's how everybody feels. Yeah, there are a lot of people who feel that way. What's that?
But she didn't say it's how everybody feels. She said that's how some people are saying, and I think that happens. That happens a lot whenever there's a criticism that says, "Hey, this thing is wrong," and then the immediate response is, "Everybody's not saying that." No, we didn't say everybody said that. We said this statement is wrong in and of itself. And I think that's
the original statement was that whoever they bring in or whatever young player they bring in, and then there's just nothing to support that. Juju came in and he made his own bed here, and from there he nestled into a spot where he was a really mediocre number 3 wide receiver on a team that really needed him, except that it's factually accurate.
He was top 10 in receptions this year. I don't disagree with
that's right. And with an average length of 1.3 yards or something. That's the final year of Hines Ward's career. That's what he just lived out.
You run the routes you're told to run.
That's fine. But
when he actually got deep targets this year, he capitalized on them. So, and again, if without him, they probably drop to at least 10-6, maybe 9-7.
Who was the third best wide receiver on the team this year?
Deontay Johnson.
Oh God. Okay. What else we got?
What? No. You're talking to your film guy here. You're talking to your guy that actually studies the tape and doesn't just watch highlights here. So
that's right.
No, come on. Give it to me. What makes? Go ahead. Why is Juju?
No, because you're not letting me talk. You're not letting me talk.
He's talked for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I let you talk for a long time, brother. I'm just saying that statement was just incorrect.
And you're still talking
because you talked for 2 minutes. You asked a question. I answered it. Okay.
Who led the team in targets?
I don't have that off the top of my head right now.
I do.
Yeah, okay. Lead the team in targets. Does the leading target guy make you the number 1 receiver in the league? No, It doesn't. Okay.
Nope. You know what leading the team in targets means? It means your quarterback thinks you're the number 1 receiver on the team.
Or it means that was you got a lot of the design plays. But does that make you the best receiver on the team? No, it doesn't.
Okay. What else we got?
The reason for Cody CC's solid season is he being properly deployed now, or is the Penguin system more fitted to his skill set? I mean, coming in, I know a lot of he wasn't popular in Toronto, and people here were like, I don't know. There's a lot of talk about his analytics, but his analytics weren't even bad. Like I wrote about it.
Really?
No, like his,
Huh.
I don't know. I'm sure you can find some of them to make him look bad, but looking at like expected goals is for and against is the best probably best metric you could find. And looking at his expected
You wrote
goals,
about missed shots. I remember you writing about missed shots as it
if I did,
related
I
to
don't remember
CC.
it. But
I do actually. It was between Ottawa and Toronto where
he
had
he led the league in missed shots, which if
yeah.
you're taking a lot of shots, I don't know, you're probably gonna miss them too. But is his actual impact, like the isolated impact charts that you can find that take into account like eliminating like all like deployment, like what like our minutes, quality of competition, all that, eliminating all that, taking into account. His expected goals for against, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad either. It was literally like no impact offensively or defensively. And that was in Toronto. And then looking at what he did in Ottawa, I mean, he was really good in Ottawa that year that they went to the conference finals against the Penguins.
Really good.
Yeah,
Against
so,
Pittsburgh, yeah.
So I mean, it didn't work out in Toronto, but it wasn't like he really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, my feeling on CC has been that he was a first-round pick, 15th overall, and you know how that is in any sport. You show up, your expectations are way, way, way up here. So both Ottawa and Toronto put CC into first-round type roles where they said, well, you're going to be the guy that matches up with the other team's top line and so forth. Well, he comes to Pittsburgh, and he's either, depending on how you read Mike Sullivan's depth chart, he's either on the second or third pairing. He's almost never matched up against the other team's top line, and he's got himself a little bit of a chance to breathe and kind of reset himself a little bit. He's been very, very good.
Alex, is the Pirates' competitive rebuild on track for the 2023 or 2024 season?
I would say so, and I'd probably lean towards the earlier year in that it's going to come down really to when the pitching grows up and when they're made really great, because 2022, O'Neill Cruz should get his first full year. We'll probably see Nick Gonzalez and Peguero both reach the major leagues that year. So most of like the position player core that they want to build around is going to be in the major leagues by that point. It's just got to be, when is that group of pitchers coming up with Quinn Priester, with Brendan Malone, with Majinski, with Etienne, with presumably either Leiter or Rocker, whichever player that they end up taking there. They are on path. There is a clear path to going forward right now. It's just going to take another year later, a lean year or two to get to that.
They don't have a target. That's probably always worth mentioning. The Pirates don't internally have some magical year that they've circled and say, this is the year that we're going to be really, really good. If something were to accelerate, and Alex and I have now both seen much better baseball than we saw a year ago. Alex, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You would agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. They're turning double plays. They're actually they are running bases so well. I felt compelled to write a piece about them running the bases.
It's fundamentals, but it's also hitting and pitching too. I mean, they've been better at hitting the ball. They've been way better at pitching. And Ben Cherington said himself, hey, this will happen when it happens. We've seen in the past, Florida Marlins are the team that really jumps out in this regard. Marlins would say, whoa, they'd blow up their whole payroll and everything else. And they'd bring all these kids into Miami. And the kids would win right away. And they'd be like, whoa, what do we do now? You know, I'm not saying that's going to happen in 2021. I'm not being an idiot, but I'm saying that there's not some hard, fast date to this.
I kind of like the Marlins comp because the last two playoffs, it's been exactly what the Pirates are going to do.
Exactly that.
Those young
bunch of
pitchers
kids
come up to the major leagues, whether it's Josh Beckett and Dontrelle Willis, or last year was Alcantara. Like,
when it takes off, you know, that's it.
Fred says, do they sell Tim Horton donuts in Buffalo? Tim Hortons are everywhere here. I've not been to one.
Aren't they? They have them in Erie. I think they trickle all the way down to Erie.
There's a Tim Hortons in like Wheeling. Like if you're in Pittsburgh.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. It's like maybe 5 minutes from like where the arena is. Yeah, there's a Tim Hortons in Wheeling. So if you're in Pittsburgh, you want Tim Hortons. Not that far away. But yeah, you get. I've been to Tim Hortons up here. It's all right. might be a little overrated. I haven't had it since I've been up here. I'm going to Starbucks. Snowman says, will the Steelers draft a tight end or sign a free agent?
I think they do one of either. I don't think it's a major signing. I think they get a number 2 type of guy. The problem is the 2 guys that would really fit them right now in the draft are Pat Fryermuth of Penn State and Brevin Jordan of Miami. Both of those guys are either late firsts or early seconds, and neither of them are worth a 24th pick. Now, if they trade back and get an extra pick, that might be the move because either one of them would be a good long-term answer. But there's a lot of guys like Trey McKitty of Georgia. I think he'd be a great fit. Tommy Tremble of Boston College. There's a lot of guys you can get in the 4th and 5th rounds who would be a solid number 2 tight end this year. And because the tight end class is so heavy in free agency, you could get a guy in the top in the top free agents like Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. They're going to go for good dollars. You could get a guy who's a decent tight end like an Anthony Firkser for maybe a reasonable contract, and that would be a good number 2 behind Eric Ebron. But ultimately, yeah, I think they make a minor move here. Still, Ebron, like I said last week on this show, I think Ebron still has a value because he's still a guy who can catch the ball. I know Dayon's really down on him, but it's funny because Dayon's really down about Ebron because he has drops. But who had the most drops in the team last year was Deontay Johnson with 15.
No, most drops in the league.
3.
Most drops in the league, yeah.
But Juju only had 3. So Juju being the 3rd best receiver on the team, I don't know about that. Again, you're just pointing out if we're looking at actual analysis here.
The average length of the pass to Juju was from Ben's nose to the end of Ben's arm because Juju wouldn't go out for passes. He was right against the line of scrimmage. How'd you come back
go out for passes is running the route designed.
How did you come back to that?
How did I come back to what?
Juju again.
Oh, I'm just pointing out. You talked. I know because you go out.
The question was about tight ends, and you're talking about Juju.
Because I brought up Eric Ebron. I brought up how you always get on Eric Ebron. Let me answer your question.
Jesse James. No, I think Eric Ebron is a terrible blocker. That's actually my number 1 issue with Ebron. The guy that was
brought up his drop rate, which is what I brought up with Deontay Johnson.
No, actually, you brought up his drop rate.
I'm saying you've brought it up before.
I did. I did.
Never brought up his drop. No, I'm saying you brought it up before.
The Lions just yesterday let Jesse James go. That could be a cap move like you're seeing all around the NFL right now. But Jesse James, I would take him running routes and catching passes over Eric Ebron. I would not take Jesse James over Eric Ebron's blocking because they're both terrible at it. So to me, I still going for a cheap blocking tight end. I want Matt Spaeth 2. That's who I want. Matt Spaeth 2.
Bad move. Film guy here, by the way.
There's no money. They're all bad moves when you have no money. But you have to figure out where it is that you want to put the money. And to me, it's not backup tight end.
Right. So sign a cheap guy at number 2 tight end. But I'm saying don't let go of Eric Ebron just because
That's what I said. No, we're agreeing on this.
Oh, okay. So you're back on that train. Cool. Good
inexpensive. There's no train. There's an inexpensive backup tight end. I actually did a whole podcast about it last week. Inexpensive backup tight end.
Is Ebron on TikTok?
I don't know. Maybe not TikTok, but I know Instagram. He does some Instagram lives on occasion.
There are a lot of them on TikTok. Honestly, 90% of what Juju was posting was fine too.
I agree. I don't, but that's why I don't think that's the issue with him. The issue with him is that he's not much of a wide receiver, and certainly not anywhere near. Carter, there's no way you'll disagree with this. He's not worth anywhere near the money he's going to get now.
Oh, yeah. Like, I wouldn't pay. Okay, this is going to be on the level. Like, I wouldn't say it's like Antoine Randall, but you remember how when he got a super mega contract for Washington, I don't think it's that much of a reach, but I do think he's worth to get paid by somebody. And where I had it, I thought his range was going to be perfect in this free agency market because someone was going to pay for Chris Godwin, who's a true number 1. And someone's going to pay for Allen Robinson, who's another true number 1. But those guys are off the board, and we know how teams get in free agency, like the Jaguars, like the Browns, like anybody who has money. They're like, let's get this guy at the top of the free agency board. And now it's him, Kenny Golladay, and Will Fuller, who are the consensus top receivers, and he's the youngest of them. All of them are 26, 27 years old. He's 24. I think someone's going to give him a big payday. So I agree with that point. someone will overpay for him.
Here, Taylor, can I ask a question? Here,
Sure.
it's not me actually. I just want to put this one up here. I actually don't know this answer. And I'm going to ask this to Alex. We just mentioned Miguel Yajure. What are they going to do with him? Because he looks way too good to be sitting on some periphery, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not to pull like a Werner's type of deal right here, but they're not going to just put him on the major league roster and kill year of team control just to do it. But I don't see him in the bullpen. He's definitely rotation depth. Because, like Dayon said, you need to have, at least 9 or 10 guys, to make starts.
Yeah.
This year. So you're going to see that. It's probably going to be go to the alternate site to start the season, maybe even Indianapolis underneath that. But he's going to be in the major leagues at some point this year. And the stuff plays. This guy is going to be a good, solid middle of the rotation arm.
For anybody who doesn't know who this kid is, and the name, I mean, you right off the bat isn't going to ring a bell with very many people. He's one of the prospects that came in the Jameson Taillon trade for the Yankees. And when I was in Bradenton, I had someone tell me one morning that they feel that the Pirates feel internally that they really got a steal here from New York, that they really got their guy. What's that?
Oh, I absolutely. And I think that's interesting up on the pitcher side because I heard the same thing about the two position players that they got.
Oh, really?
So
yeah, the Pirates are both sides. You know how sometimes you can tell when you're dealing with some team officials after they've made a trade where they just know, or they got a draft pick and they just know, they're just giddy over it. All of us have covered somebody getting someone like that. That's how the Pirates are behaving about this Taillon and Yankees deal right now. They're not crowing. They're not strutting over it or anything like that. They're just really, really happy. And then when Yajure goes out and pitches the way he did the other night, where were you, Alex? Was that Tampa?
I think I was in Tampa for Yajure. Yeah.
That's some special stuff, man. That kid is going to be good. It's just a matter of when.
We have a good one to wrap it up with, Brian. He said he seems to recall you having a Stephen A. Smith story at the Olympics.
Oh, he's asking for a short version of it. There really isn't one. I'll just say this. I got to know him over in Athens. He was just kind of new at ESPN. He had built up a reputation as a great columnist at the Philadelphia Inquirer. And we started sitting on buses, which at the Olympics is how you spend half of your days. So we started riding buses together. And one day he's asking me what I'm doing, whatever he'd heard of my coverage on the Penguins at the time. And I told him, he starts talking about, and Carter, you'll really appreciate this with the conversations that we had already today. Mm-hmm. He started talking about building your brand. Okay, now if none of you, I don't believe any of the three of you ever worked in like newspapers, but if you did, there is no such creature. And that, Taylor, is the reason that why you see a lot of the older journalists getting all cringy about the whole building your brand concept, because it's like, ooh, you don't do that at newspapers, right? Well, he believed in it, and he believed in himself, and he confronted the Philadelphia Inquirer's editors and managers and told them, hey, I know what I'm worth. I've actually done my own. He commissioned his own studies to find out how many people read the Inquirer just for Stephen A. Smith's work. So I started doing this at the Post-Gazette. After I got back, because I wanted to see how many people were reading the Post-Gazette just for my stuff, to figure out if I could just be Stephen A. and just go run off and just do this thing. You know what I mean? And it was one day. It was the conversation that we had lasted about an hour. Literally changed my life, and I've let him know that since then. And he's wished the site well and everything else like that. I don't think he openly took credit for it, but he had a big, big, big part in it. I have immense respect for what this man has done. I know people get turned off by the hot take stuff and everything else, and unfortunately for me, too much of what he talks about is NBA, so I don't even understand it. But I know that he is the very best at what he does. And look, if he talks hockey, I'm probably going to listen to it, no matter how bad it is.
Let me tell you, Dayon, That is just ridiculous. I did not say any of such thing. The unmitigated gall for you to share the things that I told you on a bus when I was covering the Olympics. I just tell you, buddy, you better watch yourself because I'm coming for
right.
you.
That's really good. I'm waiting for him to go on his first Maple Leafs rant so I can really fall in love with him. 1967.
He's gonna say 1966. That's one thing. And if you've never seen it, go look up Baby Stephen A. Smith, because someone took the Instagram filter where you can make someone a baby face and high pitch their voice, and they put it on Stephen A. Smith when he was ranting, and it is one of the funniest videos you can ever watch. It's him just, I've had it up there now. He is spectacular. But it's absolutely, as a person who's studied, who's watched media, who's followed people all the time, Stephen A. Smith, he's made himself a king in this regard. I mean, the way they do First Take with how ridiculous that show is, and how they have entry walks. They have entry walks in the show, and fans are high-fiving him as he goes because of how crazy he is.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Seems like a good place to wrap it up. If you missed it when we talked about it before, we are brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar and the North Shore Tavern, both right across from PNC Park. They have over 300 local beers, so if you want to keep supporting local restaurant, local beers, all their 80 taps are always local. Carter's drinking a Crowler right now. You can get
I drank a Crowler.
You drank a Crowler right now.
You'd never know.
Any of their beers on tap, you can get those Crowlers, which are buy 3, get 3 right now. So stock up on your favorite local beers or try some new ones like Carter does every week. With their mix and match, 6 packs from the cooler are also half off. So
North Shore Tavern.
Yeah,
we're going to end up.
If beer's not your thing, North Shore Tavern.
Yeah, you guys don't even know this yet, but I can share with you and share with the group that we're going to be doing a lot of North Shore Tavern stuff. Specifically this summer. Alex and his incoming help, Gerard, are going to be involved in some baseball talk over there, right next door to where they do their day jobs. North Shore Tavern is unless I'm missing one, the only Pirates bar like anywhere on the planet, and it is first class in that regard. I'll bet Alex would agree. I mean, it's amazing for baseball, and they are excited. Taylor mentioned small businesses, supporting small businesses. That particular small business is very excited about the Pirates having, 8,000 there for the opener?
7,500, 8,000 in that ballpark.
Not Texas Rangers level, right?
Yeah.
But that's another small business. They're sister operations for anybody who doesn't know. Mike's Beer Bar and North Shore Tavern. Same kitchen, same block, same everything.
Yeah, look them up on social or Google them because there's different specials all the time. Stay up to date. We've mentioned it before, but the steak on a stone that you can get at either, they're putting different things on a stone every week as a special. So salmon and shrimp right now. So you can get that or see what they're doing next week. Do we know what they're doing next week? Here's a surprise. Guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about it next week. We're here every Friday, 5:30 to 6:30, taking your questions. Penguins, Pirates, Steelers. So yeah, check out Mike's Beer Bar. In the meantime, stock up on beer so you can drink with us next week. And stock up on beer and bring your questions. Thanks for joining us.